Hey everybody, my name is Jonah Flint. I'm a contributing writer for Festival Advisor, and I'm here with the one and only Will Clarke. Will, thanks so much for joining us today. Just going to get right into it. I kind of have a two-part question to get going here. I want to go back to earlier in your career. I'd love for you to tell me about the process of getting signed to Dirtybird, kind of what that meant to you with the first, breakout EP and the Boogie Woogie in 2015. And then second part of the question is, from the Dirtybird releases even to recently with the Let's Rave EP, I think something you've been known for is like really funky and fun vocal samples and just little weird tidbits in the songs. What's your inspiration for that, and how do you even find them?
Cool, man. First of all, Happy New Year, man. Thanks for having me on.
You too.
I think Dirtybird it was kind of like a goal at the beginning of my career for just because I absolutely loved the label, really. And the management that I was working with, luckily, a guy called Louis Osborne, who I was being managed by at that time, he had actually toured with Claude for quite a while and knew him personally, which was great. My first release was on the 10-year album anniversary. And then from then on, I just built a relationship up with Barclay, Claude von Stroke, and just kind of kept a really tight relationship with him and sent him everything I did. Probably sent him way too much music, but it kind of paid off. I think that year I had like the first year I released the Boogie Wig, I think I had like 3 EPs on Dirtybird, or I'd pretty much released the most music anyone had released on Dirtybird in the first year. Yeah, and that was kind of just a time when I'd been writing music for a while, but my first real in was actually on Worthy's label. I had a track called Big Booty on Anabatic. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the first record to kind of lead to Dirtybird, really. Just because Anabatic was a really interesting label at the time. So yeah, and that's kind of how it started, really. And then obviously it kind of flourished into me being a big part of the Dirtybird team for a number of years. And then for me, just moving forward and starting my own label, All We Have Is Now, and kind of just not leaving Dirtybird, but just wanting to go and do my own separate thing and kind of really, really home in on where I want to take my sound. And my productions were kind of slowly moving away from the kind of the sound that Dirtybird was starting to release. So yeah, I decided to kind of go off by myself. But I guess with what you ask with the samples and stuff, a lot of it's myself. A lot of it I record it myself, or just I spend a lot of time searching. And sometimes I have to listen to a lot to then find something good. But it takes time. I've also I also for a while I've tried to not use samples as much as I love using samples, and I think using a sample is kind of like an easy fix, an easy way out, and kind of like a cheating way to make something like a really strong idea even better. But I think sometimes using a sample is a bit of a cop out rather than actually creating it yourself. Like you mentioned the Let's Rave record. That's me, the saying Let's Rave. It's like not fucking rocket science, but no one would necessarily know it's me saying Let's Rave. I think on the Boogie Woogie, my first one, I think it's saying all I want to do is party. I think that's me as well. Most of my records that have like a man voice in that sounds a bit weird is me, which it makes it easier sample wise, definitely.
That's awesome. Before I get into the next topic, I think as you mentioned, it was a journey to get to Dirtybird. You were sending a lot of music. You signed on Worthy first. I think for a lot of young DJs and producers, they see someone of your stature and think it's like, oh, they just got that EP and then everything took off from there. We know that, a lot goes into it before that happens. So I'm wondering if you could talk about, kind of the years before you had a bit of a breakthrough and what that grind was like.
Yeah, so I started when I was 13 years old. It was the first time I ever DJ'd in a club in Bristol. And then I went to to back in the day, before CDJs, there wasn't like, I didn't really know what DJing was. I used to throw like parties for my friends and do like wedding discos and DJ at local caravan sites when I was a kid, stuff like that. And I was in a music shop with my mum and dad. There's like a synth shop in Bristol that's not there anymore. There are synth shops, but the one that I was in isn't there anymore. And my mum saw this poster for like it was called the DJ Academy, and she was like, "Why don't you go and do that?"
Wow.
And my parents bought me the course for my birthday. I think it was birthday and Christmas combined, and they were like, "Yeah, go do it." So it was in Bristol every Monday night for like 12 weeks, and in the course, there was like a lot of people. I think there was like probably about 20, 30 people, all at different levels. Some complete beginners, which I didn't have a fucking clue how to turn the decks on. Some that were really all right. And then some that were really, really good that we just wanted to like get to know people and kind of get a little bit better and things like that. So I did a 12-week course there. And in that, they kind of taught you about promoting and mixtapes and stuff like that back when you used to record mix CDs and shit like that and design your own cover work. It was fun. Like looking back on it, it was actually like, that's where it all started and I loved it. And then, we all played a night together that night on the last night at the club that we kind of learned at. So I was 13 then. And then, it just kind of all started from there. There was a record shop in a local town near me called Spin Central, which is no longer, but it's in a place called Weston-super-Mare. And there was a DJ called Miss Divine that worked at the record shop, and now she is now known as Sam Divine. He's like huge part of Defected, and I used to go into this record shop, and Spin Central as the record shop itself was the southwest of the UK is very, especially then it was like hard dance, a lot of hardcore, a lot of hard dance, a lot of happy hardcore. Like honestly, no disrespect to anybody that likes happy hardcore. It's fucking disgusting. Sorry, Little Texas. I love you, man, but it's fucking awful. So I was like one of the only people that would go in that wanted to play house music. And Sam was playing like funky soulful house at the time, and she worked behind the counter. So she would like save me like records and knew that I was going to go in like after my shift at the fish and chip shop on a Saturday with all my money to go and buy it. And then Sam put on a night in Weston, and I went and played for her, and she was like into it. And then she got a residency in Ibiza at like a workers bar called Hush. She then, I think I was just turned 16. She asked me to go and play out there for her, which was kind of insane. And then 17, I saved up. I was a lifeguard then. So I saved up shit tons of money so I could just go and live in Ibiza for as long as I possibly could without working and just like build up contacts. So I did that the year after and was DJing here, there, and everywhere, just kind of little shitty gigs. And then the next year I got offered a residency And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And then after doing like 3 or 4 seasons, I can never remember how many seasons I did in Ibiza. But I did enough, and I was just like, I'm not going to get any further in Ibiza just by being a resident DJ. I have to produce music. And during this time, I was going to college, which is different to America. College is like from 16 to 18 in the UK, so it's not university. And I was learning music technology then. So that was during my times in Ibiza. So I'd finish college and then go to Ibiza for the summer and then come back and do that. And then I just realized I needed to leave Ibiza to become successful as like a international DJ. And I think that was when I was 21 when I realized that. And then 21 to 20, I signed to Dirtybird when I was 24. So it took from the age of 13 to 24, but also, like I say, even when I signed to Dirtybird, my life didn't change like straight away at all. It took a couple of years for me to be comfortable with music.
Definitely. No, and I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's another misconception. It's like you get that first EP signed and it's all gravy, but like it's not. That's really the start of the journey. As you mentioned earlier, your sound has changed a little bit. You've kind of moved away from the Dirtybird vibes. Let's talk about that, because in 2019, all of a sudden, Adam Bayer is playing your tracks, and you're really, you're remixing Your Mind, and you're releasing on True Soul. What happened? I mean, it's a totally different world. How'd you connect with him? What inspired you to kind of go down that route? And then lastly, who are you listening to right now, kind of in the techno world, that is inspiring you?
I think it kind of all happens. I didn't do anything purposely. I was just doing what I do. And if I realized from day one, I've always said that Dirtybird, I'm not going to be like a Dirtybird artist forever. And that's no disrespect to Dirtybird I love them. They're all my homies, but I want to have my own identity. I don't want to kind of be under anyone else's. I wanted to create my own. And realistically, my music was going a little bit tougher. But I always played quite tough. I always played quite hard in certain situations. So it was just kind of going more 4/4 and less Dirtybird, really. And more melodic, but I wasn't doing it purposely. I was just writing what I wanted to write. Adam started playing my remix of Nick Monaco, Drama, which is a strange one because it came out in Dirtybird, but I was mates of Nick, and Nick, like, they released that it was the Camp Out, East Coast Camp Out compilation. And I absolutely loved the record, but I couldn't play it because it just wasn't tough enough for my sets. It was just always like, I always felt I'd love listening to it. I loved the vocals and I would listen to it all the time, but I could never play it. And I was like, I just need to Will Clarke it. If you know what I mean? I need to put my sound on it, and I know exactly what I want. So I text Nick and was like, mate, can you just send me the stems? And I did it and it slammed. And I was really lucky, but Dirtybird didn't want to put it out. And it kind of got to the point where they just had to put it out because everyone wanted it. So they put it out, and yeah, I guess that record just kind of took on a world of its own. It didn't do really well. I think it was on a compilation. It didn't do amazing, but the DJs were playing it, and it kind of got to a load of other people. And then Adam started playing it. And I I'd always really respected drum code. I've always loved True Soul. True Soul is much more Will Clarke than I would say drum code is. But Adam hit me up. He just DM'd me and was like, mate, I love what you're doing at the moment. Do you want to remix Your Mind? And I was like, okay, if I can. But that was in 2018, I think. And then 2018, I remixed it. And they were like, I gave him 3 remixes. I sent him like a drum and bass remix. I sent him like a proper like hard remix. And then I sent him the remix that came out. And he loved it, but was like, we're not too sure if we're going to release any remixes anyway. Just because it's like the original record was doing so well. They were like, we don't want to just kind of forget about the original record, which is totally understandable. And then he was like, do you have an EP for us to release on True Soul or something like that? And me and Eli Brown had just written an EP together. And I was like, yeah, try this. And literally I sent the email to Eli and Adam and Ollie, who's the manager at Drum Code and True Soul. And I went into the cinema to watch, I can't remember what film. And I completely forgot I sent it the email. I was like, oh, it's just done. I probably hear back in a bit, like in a couple of weeks or something. I got a text from Eli halfway through the cinema going, well, that was easy, wasn't it? I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, check your email. And Adam literally responded like 10 minutes later going, yep, I love it. And that was Our Love and Stay. So that's kind of how that relationship started. And it was the same thing with Dents and Pika, with Needed Pains. Dents and Pika is literally I would say they're my favorite artists ever in dance music. Or at least like they're in my top 5. And I was about to hit Alex up from Dents and Pika. And he dropped me a message and was like, dude, I love what you're doing. Like, do you want to do something for the label? And it was kind of perfect. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? They're like, it's literally my favorite, one of my favorite labels. And then we did, me and Huxley did a Alan Fitzpatrick EP on We Are the Brave. And that was just like me and Hux just wrote 2, one of them was like quite hard. And then What to Do was just like this disgustingly hard record that we were like, no one's ever going to release this. Like there's levels of coolness, and me and Huxley are definitely not in those levels of coolness for any like cool label, like super cool label to release that music. So we sent Love Somebody and then the B-side, which is What to Do. I don't think I've ever played What to Do. I don't think it would ever fit in my sets. It's like 138 BPM. It's just like, I don't know. But yeah, and then he signed it. So it was like 2019 was like this strange year where my career just like flipped on, but it was also planned. Like I purposely didn't release on Dirtybird. I purposely moved away from things. I got I worked with a new manager who's my current manager, a guy called Ryan. And we just got on so well to the point where like we put the plans out in place in January when we first started working. We weren't even working together in January. I was managerless because I fired my managers in 2018 at the end of the year. And I was just like so confused with what to do with my career. And I knew where I wanted to get to, but I didn't really know the steps, or I hadn't sat down and worked out the steps. So Ryan kind of came along, or we got introduced on Holy Ship actually. And then, yeah, like we just started working together, and kind of he works fucking hard. And also he's like a homie, which is like it's the best thing to have, to like not to worry about any of your team not doing the correct work, or like there's never any of that worry, which is like perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really important what you're saying. You know, even at an advanced stage in your career, you can still have those feelings of what am I doing? Who am I working with? You know, you've obviously taken some huge steps in the last couple of years, as you just talked about. And as you mentioned earlier, you have your own label now. All we have is now. I'd love to just kind of go down the rabbit hole on that one. You know, why did you want to create it? Kind of when did those ideas start percolating? And then, you know, I know working from a label side, obviously, I'm sure you're very involved on the A&R. You know, how have you enjoyed that process? And, you know, have there been any challenges that you've experienced with that?
Yeah. So I've wanted to start a label for a very long time. I've had a label in the past that was just utter shit. Didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. And when I was like 18, it was great, but it's good fun looking back at it. But I always knew that I wanted to start my own kind of label, just so I can really curate what I release. I was especially finding the music in the studio that I'm putting out in the studio, like a lot of labels just won't sign it. And that's not me trying to sign it and them saying no. It's purely because it just doesn't sound like what other labels will put out. Like if I want to put out a record on Dirtybird, it's got to sound a little bit Dirtybird. If I want to put a record out on Drum Code, it's got to sound a little bit Drum Code. Same with like all the big labels, they kind of all have their own sound, which I totally respect. But I was just getting to the point where as an artist, I was really finding what I like to write and really feeling comfortable at kind of producing music that I really love, but then realizing that this music just will not go on any other label. So it was part of the plan from 2019. It took us a year, the beginning of 2019, it took us a year to release, to kind of set up the label. I was very like precise on how I wanted the label set up. I didn't just want it to be another dance label, or like another house or techno label. I wanted it to be set up so that we have the right team on board and it's going to be ran correctly rather than just winging it from day one. So we got a guy called Nick Harris that was managing the label for the whole of 2020. We did a licensing deal with Good Company. We did a deal with et cetera in Australia. And we had a deal with Insomniac as well. So we had like all these partners that we didn't know what would work. So we just got everyone in and kind of just was like, fuck it, let's just try. And let's just see the best possible way to do it. And we had 4 releases set for 2020 and we ended up only doing 3, which isn't what we want to do. But it was the first year. Obviously, coronavirus hit, so that kind of changed our plans a little bit. But it was just so nice to have a full team around us that was just purely working on one thing. And it doesn't necessarily always fall back on me. I still call the shots and it still does all fall back on me if it's not successful. I can't blame anyone. It's all me. It's only my own fault if it doesn't do well. But it's nice to have people that know what they're talking about and know more about running a label than I do. I'd much rather bring people in that are better at things than I am than me just try and do it, because it just doesn't succeed ever that way.
Yeah.
But with going back to the A&R, I'll be honest, I didn't want to release anybody else's music. And I still won't, because I still haven't found the right music that I want to release on it. I'm only releasing my own music, and I will. I'm always listening. People always send me music, but for me, I want to I want to do it a little differently than just release people's music. I don't necessarily want it just to be all house and techno. I'm open to release other types of music as well. But my vibe is I'd love to just sign like 1, 2, or 3 artists, but kind of have a big part in their career where we kind of, if it fits for them to come and tour with me, for us to kind of manage them and just really kind of build an artist from the get-go, and using my platform, give them kind of an outlet to put music out on. And at this moment in time, I'm always looking, but I just haven't found that person or that music that I'm fully in love with to put it out. I think nowadays there's so much music out there. There's so much, especially electronic music, that it's just thrown away. And I know how much work it goes to put into a record. And there's a lot of labels out there that just release the records and just hope that it does well. And I disagree with it massively. I don't agree with it at all. It's like an artist or a painter that does a painting, puts it up in the gallery for sale, and then somebody just comes and takes it and doesn't pay for it, and then walks away and then gives it to all of their friends to have on their wall as well. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I want to find the right artist that I'm like, yes, this is the one, or there's two, like a handful, and then we can like really make moves into their career as well and really help them build.
That's great. Quick follow up on it. It's 2 things. One, Ryan, your manager, mentioned that you have a new single coming out. Just for the listeners, we're recording this interview in the beginning of January, but I think we probably won't put it out until around the single. What can we expect from that track? And then the second thing is, I personally, I love the artistic design on the label. And I saw you just put out these, special, like all yellow vinyl. Who's doing that for you?
Yeah. So let's talk about the vinyl first. When I planned the record label, I said the actual vinyl's there. You can probably see it
in the back. Yeah.
I'd always wanted to release vinyl, but I didn't want to do it like the traditional way where you just release a vinyl every release. I wanted to do a end of year kind of wrap of all the singles of the label. So yeah, it took us ages. It took 6 months to we started it in June 2020, and they went on sale the weekend after Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving or whatever that Monday was. And it was literally like, no, I think it was later than that. Actually, I think it was like the 13th of December, 11th of December, it went on sale, and it took that long for us to get it. But it's printed in Germany, and then sold on my shop, and it's also now in other vinyl stores as well. If anyone wants a copy, but I think we sold out on my site. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing that every year with the vinyl. Just going to be releasing my favorite tracks from the thing, and we also did a vinyl only track on there, which is just I want to give something a little bit special for just the people that buy the vinyl. So there's a track on there called Lord that will never come out on a digital copy. So yeah, I like doing things like that. It's just, it adds a bit more value for people, and for the people that like follow me, it just kind of gives them a little bit special. And they're limited edition, so these that vinyl will never be printed again, which is kind of the whole point in it.
Yeah, it's a special treat for your biggest fans.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's kind of a bit of I know I'm charging people for it, which I would love to just give it away for free, but that's just not going to happen. But it's just a little thing to say thank you for like the support over the year as well. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, new single, a track called Run Run, which is a track from myself and Jaded, and the singer is it's actually a group called Arco, which is like a new duo from Leo Stannard and Marley Koa. So this record started in May 2020 and it got finished like the end of November. It took us a long time to finish this record, but I'm really happy with it. And it's a little kind of sidestep from what people would necessarily expect from me. But it's also still a Will Clarke record. So it's have you heard it?
No.
Let me give you a quick rundown. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna quickly spin it.
I take my shield as I walk through the fire. I lost myself in the wars of desire. I look to the present, future, the past, searching forever for moments that last.
I'll skip it on. Just for a bit of fun, how could I be so wrong? I used to look for love, now I'm on the run, moving. Yeah, so that's like, it's like more vocal based. It's more of like a song. But I wanted to like not going too much into detail on coronavirus, but I wanted to write something that doesn't have to be purely based for a club. Like I want to write music that people can listen to whilst they're doing the washing up or whilst cooking. But also it kind of also translates into a club when clubs are back open. So yeah, I'm really excited about that record. I don't often say it, but I actually do really like that record that I've wrote. So yeah, I'm interested.
That was awesome. It's really fresh, and I it's a perfect transition to what I wanted to ask you next, because as you said, it's like you could play that at the club, but it's not strictly a club track. Maybe it's not the prime time club hours. Last year, around this time, I think you were on this very unique tour. The Open to Close tour. It's not something that I think a DJ who's headlining shows really does very often. What kind of pushed you to do that, and what was your preparation like? And what do you like about playing a 6, 8, whatever it is hour set versus kind of that typical 1 hour festival set or like a 90-minute club headliner set?
Yeah, it's a great question because when I first started playing, especially from my Ibiza days, I was playing 12 hours a day. So it's kind of, I've just always been used to playing for so long. And when my career started, when I was lucky enough that my career started doing well, you kind of just see your sets get shorter and shorter. And the main reason why I DJ is because I absolutely love music, and I love to play music to people that I like to entertain people through music, but through music that they've never heard before, but also make sure that it absolutely slams, which is kind of a weird concept because it's very easy in a festival to just go and play all the tracks that people know you for. But But there's no better feeling than writing a record that no one's heard and going to play that in a club and it works really well. Or you find a record that is an absolute slammer of somebody else's record and you want to play it and you play it and they absolutely love it. So the whole point for the Open to Close was to really just give people a full night of what I love to listen to. And like 90% of my sets have always been my own music. So I never really get the chance to play other people's music. And even in those like shorter sets, I still don't get to play all the music that I make. So it was just a really nice kind of, it was just nice to be able to play for so long. And I think it kind of did well. Like the tour was pretty successful and I'm really lucky with that. And I'm definitely going to do it again, 100%. And I want to kind of take that further and do longer sets and see what other interesting things we can do with it. But I also think it's a much more of a European thing, the like longer sets, where in America, kind of from the curse of the EDM scene, it kind of just got shorter and shorter, which at the end of the day, people love it. And I'm fine with that. After playing like an 8-hour set, I know that I've like done my job. When I play an hour set, I'm like, oh, if only I could have played that record, and I just could never get away with it. Say that again.
So you're asking like, where's the afters? How can I keep going? Exactly.
So yeah, that was the reason why. Also, it was a really good tool to see. This is on the business side of things that I don't think anyone ever talks about. But it was a really good gauge to see my worth in these cities and see how many tickets we can sell just Will Clarke. Which I'm not going to lie, it's an important thing. We're in the business of music. So yeah, it was amazing. Super lucky. And I was super lucky that we started it in January, I think the 27th, and we finished in March the 16th. And I was super lucky. We only had one show cancelled, which was great. And I got to do a full tour last year. So yeah, super lucky.
Rare. I think you played in San Diego the same weekend as Crossed, right?
Yeah, that was the first weekend. Oh no, sorry, that's a lie. Yeah.
Like March 7th or something.
Yeah.
I was there and I went to the festival and I remember coming home and I was like, I think I just went to like the last show in the country. That's all.
Did you come to the party at Spin? Yeah. That was fun, man. That was fun.
As you mentioned, you want to do it again. And look, we're looking at a different world now. You were just talking in your last podcast with Made in Paris about kind of how it's different. And do you think going forward, your approach to touring is going to be different?
Honestly, I don't really want to kind of put a downer on it all. I'm pretty optimistic about coronavirus in general. I think when we're back, it's going to be back. I don't think there's going to be any kind of change. And I think there's going to be a lot of learning from actually people learning to go out again and learning new people to come out and kind of new experiences and things. I think it's going to be a really exciting time. I don't know when it's going to come back. And don't get me wrong. Financially, yes, it would be great for it to come back tomorrow, but we all know it's probably not the safest. So realistically, moving forward with touring, I don't think it's going to change. Like I've got friends that live in China and they're partying left, right, and center. I've got friends in New Zealand and they're raving like fucking lunatics. It's going to be back, and I think it's just I really hope that the relationships between promoters, agents, and artists and managers all kind of come together, and it's not a battle on who's got the biggest dick. It's more so everyone working together to make sure that everyone gets paid and everyone does the best possible job that you can possibly do for the club goers to have the best experience. And that's making door prices cheaper, making sure promoters get paid, making sure agents get paid, making sure managers get paid, and making sure the artists get paid and everyone's looked after equally. I think that would be really interesting to see how that changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, before we finish up, I wanted to ask just a couple quick answer questions. First of which, for the listeners who may not know, even though I just mentioned it, you have a podcast that you've been working on for a while. Started with the barbershop, and now you're on Apple. Are you on Spotify as well?
Yeah.
So you're everywhere with that. Who's your number one most wanted guest that you haven't had yet?
That's a really interesting question, because I started the podcast to, I know this is supposed to be a quick fire round, but it's not going to be quick. I started the podcast. So as you mentioned, I had the barbershop, which is now Will Clarke podcast, which we don't play music. It's just a conversation. It's like you and I having this conversation now. I didn't start the podcast to have any specific guests. I literally just get on and want to talk to my mates and want to talk to interesting people. There's a few people that I really want to get on. I'd really like to get Maxi Jazz. I don't know if you know who Maxi Jazz is, but there's a band called Faithless. And Faithless is pretty much the reason why I'm doing this. They're like the same as Chemical Brothers, two of like my biggest like idols. They were huge in the UK. You'll know one of their, do you know the track God is a DJ?
Yeah, I know. I've heard of Faithless.
Yeah. So I'd love to get him on the podcast. I'd love to get some like chefs on there as well. I'm really into cooking. So there's a lot. I don't want the podcast to be just music. I want the podcast to be a bit of everything, and slowly move out of the music world on the podcast kind of sense, and just have interesting conversations with my mates and people that I find interesting. So there's off the top of my head, there's no real people that I want to get on. I just do it for a laugh.
Awesome. Well, as you mentioned, you love cooking. You just started this food Instagram. For me, it's a huge part of my life is cooking. And so I had to ask two things. One, I was going to ask, what's your signature dish? But I hate that question because I feel like you probably make a lot of stuff. So I'd say, what's your favorite thing that you've never made before that was new for you this year? And then second, tell me about your journey getting into sourdough bread, because I'm deep in the game right now, and it's a hell of a journey.
Yeah, man. Sourdough is the minute you start sourdough, you never go back. Oh. I started making sourdough in the summer, and I'm just at the point now where I'm summer of 2020. That is, so I'm just at the point now where I'm happy with what I'm kind of making. I made some sourdough French bread the other day, and that was amazing.
Looks pretty great.
Yeah, it's good. Croissants were really nice as well. They were good fun, but I need to go back to the drawing board with the croissants because they were hard work and I rushed them, but they took about 12 hours. It was long.
So many layers, the laminating. You have to keep the butter so cold.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed making different ramen kind of broths over the kind of lockdown period. I make a good chicken ramen broth, not gonna lie. But yeah, I've really just gotten into the cooking. I'm thinking of actually doing more cooking videos. Not too sure if I should or not. But I'm just trying to work out how to do it, like with all the gear and what I need to make it, because I want it to look good. I don't want it to look shit. So yeah, I'm going to work that one out. And probably start that very soon as well, and put that on my YouTube and kind of do one a week or something like that, and see where we get with that.
All right. So back on the music side, who are three artists that you think are, you know, relatively unknown or up and coming that you're really listening to these days?
Tommy Farrow. He sent me a record called Let's Just a year ago, and it's doing serious damage in the UK now. He's like a homie, which has been really nice to kind of see him grow, but I didn't have a clue. It was his first record he sent me. It was called Let's Just, and I was playing it all through my Open to Close tour. And I was like, if I had my label kind of fully set up and I was happy with how it was being run and happy with the releases and the streams we were getting, I would have signed it. But I'm so happy for him. He's doing really well. So yeah, Tommy Farrow. Amara, who she remixed Let's Just. Amara and Meg Ward, they're both going to be really big. I've got a feeling. I don't know Meg Ward as well, but Amara's dope, and I think she's going to do really well as well. There's a guy called Sebastian Russell, who is a French producer who actually just remixed My Church as well. Well, I say just, it was last year. His production style is just fucking weird and wonderful. I love it. I just hope he starts releasing more music, because he's been doing it for a while and then gave up. And then me and Born Dirty have kind of got him back in the studio and back writing. So hopefully he does well. So they're like my 3-4 I think would do shit, definitely.
And then my last question for you is dream or just most wanted person to go back to back with that you haven't had the opportunity to.
That's tough, because I really don't like going back to back with people.
Really? Why is that?
It's just like two different people. Like, I don't know what. I don't get me wrong, I've had some amazing times playing back to back. Like when I play back to back with Kill Frenzy, it works. We get it. We get each other. When I go back to back with Ardalan years ago, we got it, and it was just so much fun. But it's like, it's tough, especially when people have their own specific style. I guess if I could go back with anyone, it would be cool to do Maceo Plex.
Mm-hmm.
Maceo would be fun. I feel like we could kind of get a good vibe off each other. Or even Denson Pika. That could be good fun as well.
Awesome. Well, that's the answer then. Now we know. Well,
yeah, now you know.
I just want to say thank you again for taking the time. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. If you want to just really quickly plug the single again and anything else you want to plug for us before we sign off.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a good catch up. But if you want to listen to the new single Run Run, it is out now, or it will be out very soon. I don't know when this is being released. 5th of Feb, Run Run is out, which is myself, Jaded, and Arco. Enjoy it, and thank you.
Awesome. Cheers. Have a good one.
Take care, man.